Come here now, little ones. I'm going to tell you a story that must be kept alive. This is not a story about your own grandfather. This is a far sadder story. This is a story of a man who sought the truth. The truth about EBITDA. His name was Robert Pattinson. Not that one. Ah, there he is. Robert had a tough childhood when growing up due to his physical appearance. The other children would often say things like, he hit every branch when falling down the ugly tree, or he'd make a freight train take a dirt road, or if my dog had a face like yours, I'd shave his butt and teach him to walk backward. Despite this, Robert was a bright kid, an ambitious and curious young man, much like your grandfather some 5 decades ago. Eventually, the time came for university, and like many naive young adults, Robert delved into the world of economics, a restless country boy in the search of the good life. In his first year as a student of economics, he took a particular interest in the stock market. If you are to believe in the saying, "You learn from your mistakes," one could argue that Robert was a quick learner. At some point, the young man decided to sign up for a finance and investment class, taught by a professor that went by the name of Mr. Bradley. The class turned out to be quite the success for Robert, as his fortunes in the stock market altered. However, there was one specific lecture that would turn out to be pivotal for Robert's life. A lecture about EBITDA. The term had only passed his ears in the hallways, but always made him think, what's all the fuss about EBITDA? Mr. Bradley explained the term quite concise.
EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It is an alternate measure of profitability to net income. By excluding depreciation and amortization, as well as taxes and debt payment costs, EBITDA attempts to represent the cash profit generated by the company's operations. It is a widely accepted metric.
Something was off, Robert thought. An abnormal behavior of Mr. Bradley, who loved to challenge and experiment with the topics he covered. Robert raised his hand.
But how can this metric be used across all sectors? It sounds like EBITDA ignores the cost of assets, the capital expenditures. Wouldn't it be better to use free cash flow, for example?
The young student inquired. Mr. Bradley looked Robert in his eyes and replied coldly,
It is a widely accepted metric, and it is used across all sectors.
After the lecture, Robert was summoned to Mr. Bradley's chamber.
I strongly advise you to leave the matter of EBITDA be,
said the professor.
It is not a subject one should meddle with. Never mind that.
The young student didn't grasp the gravity.
But Professor, if it is such a commonly used metric, I must be able to know when to apply it.
Always apply it.
But I need to know the truth about it.
You can't handle the truth.
They have my family.
The two academics left it at that, and Robert was more unsure than ever before. However, as with most things, it was only a short time before his mind had drifted towards other things in life. His university days passed quickly thereafter. He attended some obscure classes, miraculously got a girlfriend, eventually graduated, and finally got a job. They had him by the balls, and he liked it. He was hired as a financial controller for a publicly traded company that manufactured church bells. As a financial controller, he was responsible for preparing the company's financial reports. Once settled at the company, there was something that baffled the quick-minded graduate. There was a significant increase in inventory levels, which had resulted in the company borrowing heavily in order to keep its doors open. From a fundamental point of view, this only made sense as the church bell industry had seen better days. But what surprised Robert was that the company was trading 60 times its net profit, which was extremely high for such an industry. And maybe even more surprising, during the first investor meeting he attended, everyone seemed satisfied. And that's when Robert faced a new pivotal moment in his life. There was only one metric everyone seemed to care about: adjusted EBITDA. Immediately, the financial controller got shivers down his spine, bodies aching all the time. EBITDA ignores all costs related to the heavy debt load, Robert thought. And on top of that, Why on earth would they adjust it? And what does that even mean? By using the adjusted EBITDA figure, the company only traded at a multiple of 6, which then sounded cheap. With his childish naivety, he confronted the CEO.
Ma'am, I think we should warn the investors about the adjusted EBITDA metric and present the issue of capital costs,
Robert said.
Warn? Are you stupid, Pattinson? We encourage them to use it, and the analysts swallow it hook, line, and sinker. An analyst must recommend stocks to remain attractive, and we facilitate their recommendation. Mutualism at its finest.
Robert left the office terrified. The young man slowly started to realize that the problem was significantly bigger than what he initially thought. He suddenly remembered the lecture from his university days. After mulling it over for a while, Robert decided to reach out to his old professor, Mr. Bradley. It turned out that Mr. Bradley was no longer a professor at the university. He was imprisoned. Robert was desperate for answers, so he located the prison that housed his old professor.
How are you, Professor? They got you. Is it EBITDA related?
They got me all right. But no, this was only bad luck. I am a convicted sex offender now, Robert.
The former student didn't have a proper response for this.
The EBITDA fight is no longer mine to bear. If you really want to know the truth, you must seek out John Malone, but be aware of the dangers that follows. They had my family captivated for years to keep me silent. That is all I can say.
Robert's mind was set. His singular purpose lay in uncovering the truth about EBITDA, which necessitated locating the mysterious figure, John Malone. If this man had any connection to EBITDA, Robert reasoned that the only logical starting point for his search would be the lion's den itself, Wall Street. However, upon arriving at Wall Street, there was no sign of John Malone, nor was there any help from the people working there.
Although I have a slightly better haircut.
Back to the tats!
Robert then tried his luck at Harvard, with the hope of Malone being a finance professor like Mr. Bradley used to be. But here, he only encountered a coldness reminiscent of Mr. Bradley's demeanor some years earlier. His search then continued around the world, through the heights of the Himalayas, the droughts of the Saharas, and the mines of Moria, but no sign of John Malone. However, Robert's grit was unaffected. After defeating Balrog and untying the Gordian knot, he felt closer than ever. While cutting his way through thick jungle, his search would finally come to an end.
It is you? You are John Malone?
Robert stuttered in amazement, not quite being able to grasp the reality of the situation.
That is correct, my child.
Robert then proceeded to outline his concerns and recount his journey, and how he had come to learn about Malone through Mr. Bradley.
Which is now a convicted sex offender.
Convicted is the only difference then. Your journey is truly inspiring, my child, and it is only right that I give you an explanation. You see, young Robert, the man you have sought is the man behind it all. I was the one who invented EBITDA. It all started in the 70s. It was the disco era, but I took my dance shoes to the financial markets. I started using the metric in the cable industry in order to get lenders and investors on board with my leveraged growth strategy, which utilized debt in order to reinvest profits to minimize taxes. It was an innocent play and fair game at the time. During the 80s, investors and lenders found the metric helpful for figuring out if the companies they wanted to buy could make enough money to pay back the debt they planned to take on. It was natural to exclude interest and taxes in the calculation, as a buyout usually entails a change in capital structures. Depreciation and amortization were also argued to be excluded, as this would not affect the company's ability to service the debt, at least in the short term. It was all fun and games until the dot-com bubble. EBITDA was the hottest word at cocktail parties in Silicon Valley and became a beacon to measure a company's health, the most creative case being a company called WorldCom. They changed normal expenses from their income statement to their balance sheet, which meant that the cost would not appear when evaluating the EBITDA of the business. From that point onward, the misuse of the metric would only become more egregious. They started manipulating it and calling it adjusted EBITDA. Every company calculated it in their own way, and every company seemed profitable. Then they started adding more letters, EBITDA R, which could either mean EBITDA before rent costs or EBITDA before restructuring costs. But it wasn't until after the coronavirus that I truly understood the size of the monster I had created. Adjusted EBITDA C, adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, and coronavirus. Companies started calculating their own loss related to the virus. It was a shit show never seen before.
Robert was shocked.
So you moved here out of guilt for the monster you had created?
Robert asked sorrowfully.
No, I moved here to avoid taxes. This is Cayman Islands.
After digesting the information received from John Malone, he hurried back to his home country to convey the truth. But this was Robert's mistake. This is where he was deceived by his naivety. This is where he underestimated his opponents, because this is where his diary stops.
So what happened to him? Have you looked for him?
Sure, I tracked him down all right. He was raped and lobotomized.